What's going on, guys? My name is Triforce Addiction. Welcome back to another COD mode video. So the update for Season 8 has finally arrived on all versions except for the Korean version as of right now, well, as of recording the video. And we finally got all the changes and all the weapon balance stuff that came with this update. But it is pretty interesting because there is not a lot of weapon changes itself other than just bullet impact. But there are two significant changes that I do want to discuss. One for this video and one for another video in the future. But first off, I want to talk about the first change, which is for the Razorback. So the Razorback has kind of been regarded as probably one of the better weapons as of recently, ever since the buff to the multipliers, as well as just the overall damage. It's made the gun a lot more powerful, able to 3-shot on the chest as well as on the head. And, you know, equipped with the rapid fire perk, it just makes it even more better. Not only that, there is an extra change. They also changed the sound of the Razorback as well as various guns in the game. But I just want to let you know, just in case you guys were wondering why the gun sounds a little different. So yes, let's actually talk about why this gun was even changed in the first place. So yes, while it was becoming a lot more powerful and much more notable, there was starting to become a question of whether or not they're kind of pushing the balance with this specific weapon. And this does tend to happen overall in this game throughout its history. You know, some guns get questionable buffs, and it kind of makes the player think whether or not they kind of went too far with it. And with the Razorback, this one is kind of, I guess, one of those weapons. And given the fact that it's a type of gun that, you know, has pretty decent mobility, especially when it comes to strafing, and the fact that it has very, very good range and the power to 3-shot up to the chest and to the head for a pretty decent distance, yeah, it was starting to become, I guess, an issue. But again, there are many guns, especially SMGs, that have this exact ability. I mean, the Striker 45, the GKS, and I'm sure there are a few other ones out there that can do that exact thing. But the problem is that, you know, like, where do you draw the line? Because the GKS, yes, it has the power to 3-shot, but it does have a set type of fire rate. There's no way you could actually adjust the fire rate to make it faster or anything like that. The Razorback is really the only type of SMG that can actually do that. But the fact that it does do that, it kind of brings to question why it was balanced the way that it was. Keep in mind, at first, the rapid fire perk for the Razorback has always, well, not has always been in the game, but it's been in the game for, like, you know, from like the tail end of year 1. That's when it got its first legendary, and that's when it was also introduced with the rapid fire perk. The thing is that they never actually had to nerf it down because, again, the Razorback wasn't as formidable as it is right now. I mean, you know, for the most part, it was always a 4-shot kill until recently. So I could understand as to why they didn't bother to change it because, I mean, you know, having it like that wasn't really impacting the game in such a negative way. At the time, there was plenty of different metas. There was the Man of War meta, the the ASM-10, you know, so on and so forth. So there was never really a reason as to why they even needed to adjust it in the first place. But given that in recent history, or I guess these past few years, I mean, all of the guns got adjusted to become a lot more powerful, a lot more viable, and that's why we probably never had such a more open meta than we do right now. But of course, there's a time where you kind of push it a little bit too far. And keep in mind, with most perks, like let's say the enhanced bolt or the full auto thing for the M16, there's always a downside with it. The Razorback was really the only one that had any sort of stat changing perk that had no downsides at all. I know for the M16 that you can say that at first, you know, they only lowered the multipliers just by a little bit, and that was like the only downside. But of course, with more balancing being done, they added a recoil downside as well as, I guess, a bullet spread accuracy downside as well. But yes, they do all that to balance it out, but the Razorback never actually received that type of treatment because it never needed it. At least until now. So yes, I knew eventually at this point that the rapid fire perk was finally gonna get its own set of downsides, given that there's no better time than any. So what they did with the rapid fire perk is that they increased the bullet spread by 10%. So it's going to be 10% less accurate, as well as the fact that the range was also decreased. Specifically by how much, it's probably around 3 or more meters. It's nothing really that significant, but it does make quite a difference when you're trying to shoot people at, you know, mid to long range. The 3-shot kill potential is still there, but it's a lot more restricted. The days of, getting 3-shot kills from maybe like 15 meters away at best is long gone at this point. I mean, the ability is still there. You can enhance it if you just simply do not use the perk. But if you do want to use the rapid fire perk, yeah, the gun's going to be a lot weaker. Of course, people could argue that the rapid fire is basically what made the Razorback good. But of course, with the Razorback, I mean, it's like, given that it's a lot stronger now, I don't really think that's the case. I think it could still do pretty well without the rapid fire perk. And I know that because I've played a few games without the rapid fire perk, and I did just fine. But when it comes to more competitive players, I could see where that could be a problem. But I think it could have been worse. I mean, they could have lowered the bullet impact by maybe 10%, given that it's going to be a little weaker and it shoots a lot faster. Or they could have even added a recoil downside. That would have made it even worse. But the fact that they made these minimal changes, it's all right in my opinion. But I think, at least for the sake of balancing, I think some guns also do need these types of treatments. The one most notable is probably the Bison, and given that the CBR was just nerfed, I could tell that gun's going to take over immediately. I think what they should have done with that one is that make the 3-shot potential, where you shoot in the chest and everything, only available for the large caliber ammo, given the fact that it would make the ammo attachment a lot more, usable. And also the fact that it doesn't go too far with the range, especially that it has a 20% range downside. So, I mean, changes like that would probably balance out the game a little further. At least that's just my opinion. But yeah, I know a lot of people are gonna lose their minds for this one. I know there's probably a lot of Razorback users out there. I mean, hell, there's a leaderboard for it for a reason. But yeah, I don't know how much this is actually gonna affect ranked. Honestly, I don't even think the Razorback is even in the weapon drop rotation, but I'm sure there are a few people out there that might have a class set up, whenever they pick out one of those loadout drops. But yeah, I don't know if it's also going to affect BR as well, but yeah, that's unfortunately the price that we have to pay if we do want to use the rapid fire perk. But of course, if you guys don't want to deal with any of those downsides, I just suggest just using it without it. And on the bright side, I mean, it gives you extra space for an extra attachment, so you could probably mix in maybe the marksman barrel with the monolithic suppressor while also keeping the combat stock together. So it's like you get to at least maximize your weapon's movements or whatever the case may be in order to make the gun even better. But anyways, that's all I really have to say about the Razorback. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you leave a like. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. I'll see you guys next time.